So I'm Lance, by the way, Pastor Lance. I'm looking around, seeing if I've seen some of you at Synod in years gone by, but I'm trying to remember if I really know. My eyes, who knows? If I know you and we know each other, come and say hi and remind me, because my eyes are going bad, my memory's doing the same. So it is great to be here. I don't know if anyone here is a friend of Bill W's, or if anyone knows people who are friends of Bill W. But I am one. I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. I got sober in January of 1988. But I want to start this story actually 6 months before that, June of 1987, when I was in probably the worst of my using times. It was bad. I mean, it was bad. I was living in Sarasota, Florida. I had been going to school, my second year of college. I had managed to get some financial aid for my third year of college, but failed to sign the promissory notes on time, and therefore was kindly asked not to come back. So, because I couldn't pay for it. So that was an interesting situation. That had happened the year before. And so here I am in 87, not only trying to figure out what I was doing, but also trying to pay back my school, because they let me stay, even though I didn't have any money. They let me stay for the end of that term, the spring term, but then I had to pay them back. And so here I am. I think at the time, the minimum wage was something like $5 and something an hour. I owed like $2,500. I had burned every bridge around me, by the way, by that time. My parents didn't want me home. My friends were tired of me. I wouldn't say I actually stole from anybody, but I actually would borrow things and not give them back sometimes. Especially money. Oh my gosh, I owed people money left, right, and center. And so here I am. I'm trying to make things work. So I was actually working two jobs. I'd get up in the morning, I was a construction laborer in the hot Florida sun, and then around 3 o'clock I'd go home, take a shower, and by 4:30 I would be behind the counter of a Circle K convenience store, and I would work until 11 o'clock closing. Rarely sober, by the way. And it's funny when you get to that place. When I got to that place, I was like, I had no money for food. I was able to pay my rent. But I had plenty of money for the other things. You know, the things that I wanted that were important to me in my life. So I'm sitting here trying to make it my diet consisted of things like popcorn, that I would get. I had an air popper. Every now and then, my boss would hand me some expired burritos from the Circle K, that kind of thing. So that was, and I was a mess. I mean, I was a hot mess. And it was around that time that my younger sister gave me a phone call and told me that she and her friends were going to be dropping by. Now, it turns out my sister at the time, she was a senior in high school. I think she had just graduated. And so she and her friends were sort of having this one last hurrah. And for them, that meant they were into, I don't know if anyone remembers the punk rock musician Adam Ant. Does that ring a bell to anybody? So Adam Ant was making a tour through central Florida, down to the southern part of Florida, and they decided to catch him up north and follow him through. They were just following him and going to all these shows. And there were about 8 or 10 of them. When they picked me up, And what they were going to do was they were going to swing by, and they said, hey, my sister said, hey, come on, we're going to go have dinner at Boston Market. We have Boston Markets here? You know what Boston Market is. Okay. Are they closed now?
Yeah, they have no more.
All right. So we're going to have dinner at Boston Market. Let's go. And so I went. So here I am. I'm 20 years old. All of these kids around me are 17 and 18. I felt like the really messed up adult at a table of kids who, had been on the road for at least a week by now. They had that road aura about them, where they hadn't gotten enough sleep, and they were goofing around. They were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Some of them smelled kind of bad, that kind of stuff. And they were rowdy. I mean, they were really rowdy. Hey, I don't know if you've ever been to like a restaurant and you see a bunch of kids, like teenagers or late teenagers, and they're just loud, and you're sitting here going, oh my gosh, why can't someone do something about these kids? What are they doing? They're so loud, and they're goofing around, and they're spitting the straw things at each other. They're doing all this stuff. Can't somebody do something about that? Was our table. So the waitress comes around, and you can see on her face, she's like, oh my gosh, I got to deal with these kids. You can see on her face, oh my gosh, there's not going to be a tip, And so they start ordering stuff. The amount of food that those kids ordered was insane. They each ordered big dinner-y things. They also they must have had like 6 or 8 appetizers coming out. Pitchers of pop and all this stuff. They ordered tons and tons of food. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh man, I know exactly what's going to happen. These kids, rowdy as they're going to pull a dine and dash. I can feel it in my bones. This crazy group, they're going to do that. Oh man, it was crazy. So they order all this stuff. They get all this stuff. They're eating. Now there was one young lady, Carolyn, who was sort of at the one end of the table. And what I noticed about her was that everybody there sort of deferred to her. She was probably 17 or 18, but they all deferred to her. So if they ordered a bunch of stuff, they kind of looked over at Carolyn to see if that was okay. Which I thought was really kind of weird. I thought, maybe she's the one holding the money. I don't know. What's going on with this? Carolyn. The food comes. They eat all the food. They make, there's a mess of messy dishes all over the place, half-eaten stuff, this, that, and the other. They get it cleared. Do they want they want dessert. You bet they want dessert. And so the pies come out, and the cakes come out, and the ice cream, and all that stuff comes out. And they're eating, and they're eating, and they're eating. And every time this waitress comes over, she's getting more and more anxious and angry. She's holding it in really well, but she's getting more anxious and more angry. She has half decided that these kids are going to rip her off somehow. And she's half decided that she should probably call the police because these kids should not be acting the way they are, loud and boisterous and this and that and the other. Finally, the bill comes. You'd think we had been at CVS. The receipt was this long. The amount at the bottom was huge. And I'm looking at my sister, and I'm like, I don't have any money. I have 0 monies, And Carolyn says, don't worry about it. We've got you. Okay, Carolyn. Bill goes around. Everybody looks at it. Everybody passes it around, and it goes right back up to Carolyn. And she takes out her wallet. She pulls out what looks to me like a little business card. She hands it to the waitress. The waitress looks at it and she's like, what is this? You know, because you can tell, here it comes. She's been waiting for this. She's been waiting for this whole disaster to come crashing down and everything to be, you know, just fall apart. What is this? And she says, Carolyn says to her, tell you what, just go show it to your manager and see what she has to say. So she just stomps off. And I couldn't hear what she was having to say, but I could see the body language. She's going up to the manager. She's got her hands on her hips, and she's like, you know, like this, and she's pointing, and she's all this stuff. She hands her the business card, and the manager looks at it. And then she looks at us. And she looks at it. She looks at us. She comes over to our table, goes straight to Carolyn and says, how was your meal today? It was great. Thank you. It was fantastic. She says, would you like any other things to take with you to go? Carolyn said, you know what, we would. And she rattled off a few things. She says, thank you. She says, tell your father we said hello. And please come again. This is when I found out that Carolyn's father owned all of the Boston markets. And another little restaurant chain called the Hard Rock Cafe. Oh yeah. Yeah. Are they weeds or are they wheat? Can we really tell? Parable today talks about this whole weeds and wheat thing, and it's an interesting distinction as who was the reader? Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. As Jeff was reading the parable of the wheat and the weeds, I was thinking to myself, you know, we just sang about creation, and didn't God make everything? Didn't God make all the plants? Didn't God make the weed and the weeds? Right? Didn't they make them both? Didn't God make the children of God and the children of the devil? I mean, they're children. God made them all. So where is this distinction really coming from? I'm going to tell you right now. This distinction comes from us. It is our distinction. It is a thing that we impose on people we don't know, people we think we know, people we want to place in a box of friend or foe. It is a distinction that we make. And we as human beings, we do that a lot. I remember talking during some of the discussions about racial justice during COVID, about how race and race identity it's an artificial construct. You know? I mean, it's something that we impose as human beings. We impose on other people. And we say, well, you're part of this group, and you're part of that group, and you're part of this group. Hey, folks, hate to say it, but if we're all made by God, we're all part of the same group. You know, and all this stuff that we want to categorize each other, and not just race, culture, economics, the languages we speak, all that age, all that stuff that we impose to try to divvy up people and categorize, that is all artificial construct. It is all stuff that we do. God doesn't make these distinctions. God does not make these distinctions. We do. We're the ones who look at someone and say, weed, wheat, worth getting to know, not worth getting to know. Someone we want to bring to our church, someone we just as soon wave at from a distance and not let them in. Someone we want to be friends with, someone we want to walk by without even making eye contact. If you've ever felt like a weed, by the way, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've met a lot of people at Moravian Open Door who feel like weeds in this world. And by the way, I want to say this right now. I am here to talk about Moravian Open Door. I want to tell you a little bit about, in the context of this weeds and wheat. There we go. I want to talk about a little bit about Moravian Open Door. I am not soliciting any donations for Moravian Open Door. This is not. I'm not saying run, don't walk, send us money. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. Okay. But I do want to let you know, because you all support us in part through your contributions to the Moravian Common Ministries. We get a portion of that. It's not a huge portion, but anything we get is always helpful, and so that, you all do support that. But like I said, I've met people who at Moravian Open Door who they just feel like the weeds of the world, kicked around, discarded. People who, they feel like the rest of the world just as soon not have them there. And it's kind of crazy to me. So the people that we get at Moravian Open Door, by the way, Moravian Open Door is not we are not a homeless shelter. We're a transitional housing facility. I know that sounds like I'm doing some sort of semantic thing. I'm not. In a homeless shelter, especially in New York City, if I need a bed for the night, I can just walk into a homeless shelter and I can say, hey, I need a bed. If they've got a bed, I can crash there. It's like a one-night thing, and then if I want to go there the next night, I may have to see if there's a bed available the next night. Every day I'd have to try it again. That's not who we are. To get into Moravian Open Door, you have to be referred to us by a social worker or a doctor, someone who can speak on your behalf, fill out the paperwork on your behalf. You have to be a person who is men or women, but you have to be over 50. I know that's no one here fits that group, so I get it. You have to be over 50. You have to be clean and sober for at least 3 months. You have to be able. It's an old building. You have to be physically able to walk downstairs in case of an emergency, because we don't have any other. We have an elevator, but that's it. So you have to be able to do that. And there are a couple other things. You do have to have people there do have to have some kind of income. So Social Security or jobs. A number of people there have jobs. And the reason for that is because we charge a program fee. It's not rent. Can't charge rent. It's a program fee. $375 if you share a room with somebody. $525 if you have a room to yourself. We have different programs there. We have a breakfast program, serve breakfast every day. So that's sort of included in the whole deal. But there are also resources. Linda had said that I'm working as a caseworker. I'm trying to connect people with some of the resources that are out there in the city, Medicaid, Medicare, that kind of stuff. Right now I'm working on, we have 2 or 3 people who just need help. So getting a home health person coming in to help them out with certain things. This place is really a place, Moravian Open Door is really a place where people can sort of pause in their life. They can take a breath in their life. They can get their finances and other things together in their life so they can take the next step and go out into the world and hopefully find a better, more traditional living arrangement. And I keep saying this every time I drop by and I do these sermons. There are 2 zeros associated with Moravian Open Door that I'm very proud of. One of them is that we take $0 from city, state, or federal government. There's $0 coming into Moravian Open Door from the city, the state, or the federal government. We are supported solely by individual individual donations from churches, the Moravian Common Ministry, and some corporations give us money, and on and on. So that's how we're supported. The other zero I'm extremely proud of is that in the last 13 years, anyone who has gone through Moravian Open Door and gotten out to a more traditional living arrangement, none of those people, 0% of those people have ever become homeless again. So they call this this is recidivism in the homeless community, 0% homeless recidivism. And I am extremely, extremely proud of that. The people there are really pretty awesome. We have some characters. We do have some people who are struggling with drug and alcohol addictions. We do have a couple people who probably have some mental health issues. And among those, all of the people I've met, I've met two people who were college professors. I know a guy there who was actually at one point a fairly wealthy business owner and entrepreneur. I know two people there who were building contractors, general contractors. I'm trying to think who else I know there. But they're people. I mean, that's the thing. These are people. And by the way, you can go and meet some of these people here, and once you hear their stories and you get to know them, you realize that's me. You know? That is absolutely me. This world might have given up on some of these people, and some of them are there, by the way. Some of them are definitely there because of their drug and alcohol related issues. But some of them are there because of medical debt. Some of them are there because somebody stole all the money in their retirement pension fund. Some of them are there because they zigged when the market zagged and they lost everything, that kind of stuff. These are not people who are just throwaway people. Although I gotta say, when they go outside, I can see the people sometimes in the neighborhood just looking right through these people, these friends of mine at Moravian Open Door. We as Christians cannot do that. We just can't. We cannot do that. Now, I understand that you all do some amazing things when it comes to reaching out to the community. And I got to tell you, the more I read about it, the more I hear about it, the more proud I am of what you all are doing. But I really I can't say this enough. I'm hoping that you all are not just handing people plates of food, or what are some other things? Handing them what? What are some other things that you do?
So we've got kids after school program.
Right.
Senior lunch.
Senior lunch.
A lot of work with Northeast Community Center.
There you go.
Food bank, Victory House, Bethlehem Emergency Shelter.
Are you getting to know the people? Are you getting to know them? Do you know them by name? Do you sit down and eat with them? Have you heard their stories? Have you told them your stories? And not as someone like, I'm going to give you something, so that I'm in a great place and I'm going to give you something that's going to save your life or help you out. Ooh, look how great I am. No, are you doing it as two people sitting down and just getting to know each other? Because I really believe that's where it begins. We begin by understanding that it's not about wheat and weeds, it's about plants. And quite frankly, none of us can figure out if someone is a weed today, what they're going to be tomorrow. Let me finish this up real quick, because I know I have a tendency to just keep going on and on, because I get passionate about this stuff. I can talk forever. So we're going out from this Boston market, and I'm about to get in the car, give my sister a hug and all that, and this girl Carolyn comes up to me, and she's got a big bag. And she said, Your sister is worried about you. And I'm worried about you. And I just want you to know that it doesn't have to be like this. She hands me this bag. When I got home, I opened it up, and in the bottom are 2 pies. There's a whole roast beef dinner. There's a whole turkey dinner, and a thing with 2 hamburgers in it. It was enough food for me for the next week and a half. I could have been a weed. I could have ended my days being among the souls that are just sort of bound up and tossed in the fire that Jesus talks about in this scripture. But other people got involved. And other people helped me out. And it wasn't just her. I'm not going to say that she changed my life. She made me feel really good and wanted and seen that day. But I'm sure what she did contributed to my finally picking up that phone and telling my aunt and uncle in Minneapolis that, you know what, I think it's time for me to get sober. You know, it's time for me to find out how to do this and sort of get my life together. The people who saw me not as a weed, but as just a plant, I guess, potential wheat, I don't know. They were the ones who really changed my life. And you can do that too. What you do here in ministry, it's got to be more than just feeding people, handing them food, handing them a place for their kids to run around, giving them whatever support. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be that connection. It's got to be that way, because we can find that other stuff anywhere. There are social programs out there that can give the stuff, but only we as the children of God can look a person in the eye, can meet them hand to hand, eye to eye, heart to heart, and give them a glimpse of that love of God. That's the thing that's going to change their lives. I look forward to hearing more about your ministries. I look forward to just celebrating with you every time you all connect with someone. God bless you, and thank you for allowing me to visit today.